A leak came out about Marathon. Sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty fucking good. Marathon's a 3-person extraction shooter. What I like about it is you don't have to play it with a team. I want to play DMZ more, but I don't want to find 2 other people. I just want to fucking play. It's like, nope, you got to find 2 other people. Fuck you. So you can play it as a team, or you can extract without a team, or you can play it solo, or duos. Okay. The thing that's interesting, it says all players have a limited amount of oxygen that acts like the match counter countdown. So if you run out of oxygen, you die. If you extract before you run out of oxygen and health, that is the goal. But players, you can also find canisters in the match or buy them. This was what makes me a little worried. At expensive prices on the market before heading into battle. I hope that's the in-game market, like Counter-Strike, and not like pay to win and buy some oxygen. Hopefully that's not what's happening. And I don't think that's not in the wheelhouse of Bungie or Sony, frankly. But that said, though, sounds pretty interesting. It says you can get injured while you play, and it'll fuck up your oxygen, right? So it says if you get shot in the waist, it could cause damage to your oxygen supply tank, which will start depleting more rapidly. If you get hit in the head, you'll have a concussion at times, which causes your screen to blur periodically. Perks include faster revives, less O2 usage, faster movement in the water, etc. Abilities are more game-changing and powerful, allowing the likes of night vision to spot enemy outlines. Here's what Bungie said. This is pretty interesting. I hope they can pull this off. Bungie was aiming for Marathon to be the ultimate live service game. To achieve this, the team is aiming to have a minimal load time, with one source saying the team is aiming for single-digit load times from readying up to actually playing the game. For replayability, it was said that Marathon's maps will have plenty of secrets for players. There's a bit of a permadeath aspect. So you have loot, implants, and perks. If you die, all of your loot goes away. Weapons, artifacts, currency. So there's this tension, which I think sounds like a lot of fun. Implants sometimes go away, and perks never go away. But here's what I like about this. Now again, is this Sony Starfield? Of course not. It's science fiction based, it's a service-based game, but no, this is multiplayer. Starfield has no multiplayer on it. You know, there's a million differences. But what I do like about this from Bungie, and this will be on Xbox too, which blows my fucking mind. I guess Bungie was demanding that has to be part of the deal, or we're not letting you buy as Sony, because why the fuck would Sony give this away to the competition? But regardless, I like that this feels like, you know what, here's what it feels like. When you know, whatever you think of Neil Druckmann, or Cory Barlog, or Eric Williams, or the folks over at Sucker Punch, who make the world's best cinematic single-player action-adventure games, you know when they're going to make something, even though it may not be for you, you know it's good. You know it's well done. You know they know what they're doing in that genre. I think when you listen to what Bethesda is offering, and I think when you listen to what Bungie is offering with both of these games, they both sound like, oh, it's cool to see Sony and Microsoft finally getting some people on in this space that know what the fuck is going on. And I mean, the game's going to be great, but I like that. I'm excited for both of these fucking games at this point, assuming they deliver. I'll be the first to shit all over them if they're bad. But Ricardo says, yeah, but does Sony need Starfield? Well, Sony's not going to get Starfield, right? Here's what Sony might get. I mean, there's a rumor that Barlog is working on a space game, but I don't think, I could be wrong, Cory's an incredibly talented, bright fella, but I don't think, unless marketing comes in or PD comes in or Cory comes in and says we have to pivot, a non-narrative cinematic game doesn't really sound like something Cory would have any interest in. It sounds to me more like he would want to make, you know, if he is indeed making a space game, he would want to make something that's sort of more narrative and paced by him and secrets revealed when he wants them to be revealed. Not something where it's like, hey, it's a playground, go have fun, make your own fucking story. Ravnos is bringing up Concord, but we don't really know anything about it. We know it's a PvP shooter multiplayer service game coming exclusively to Sony, but who the fuck knows what it is. Jaffe asking if Sony will get Starfield is like asking if Microsoft will get Spider-Man, says Alex. I'm not asking literally, and that's not what I asked, by the way. The thumbnail doesn't say, will Starfield come to Sony? It's, do they need their own Starfield? Do they, I don't mean the literal game. I mean, do they need to start putting their toes in the water of these open world, immersive sandbox adventure games? Whether they buy No Man's Sky and buy Hello Games, if they can, and have them make a sequel like IGN was saying, which is basically what it looks to me that Starfield is. or whether they really put the money down. And I know, no one's going to tell you, oh, they said they're not for sale, whatever. Who knows? Everyone's for sale. But ultimately, put the money down and buy CD Projekt Red. I think the real question is, does Sony need a team like that? Whether they make it from the ground up or they buy it. Doug says, I think, does PS need a Starfield is placing too much importance on one game? Perhaps, but it's more about placing importance on some genres that are lacking from Sony's portfolio. The ground has shifted. And I know back in the day, it was like, oh, RPGs are niche. But when you look at games now that do fit the RPG definition, they're some of the most successful fucking games out there. I mean, and you don't, fuck Starfield, talk about Tears of the Kingdom. It's no different. It's this big open world sandbox narrative, great IP, player can express themselves. Sony doesn't have any of that. And it's a big hole in their portfolio, I would think, but it doesn't mean they're going to fall apart if they don't get one of those immediately. I'm just saying it's a conversation regarding, is this genre meaningful enough to make Sony make some different decisions that they're used to making? So, I mean, again, it's not just this. Avowed will probably be good, given the pedigree of the team. Whether it looks visually good or not, who knows? We know that the guys in An Exile are making that Clockwork thing, which looks pretty fucking good. And their last game, Wasteland 3, was excellent. But I mean, I'm asking a genuine question. I'm not trying to stir up Sony fanboys. I'm asking, do you think, given the success and the burgeoning of this genre, that Sony needs one of these put into production? That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.